Time now for Going for the Green, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Head down to the golf course with our golf bet lead, Will Gray, to see if he can't help us make a little green this week with some big picks.
Thank you, Ned. It's nice and cool here on the range at East Lake Golf Club. And you might think to yourself, listen, there's only 30 guys in the field, maybe not a lot of ways to make money with your bets this week. You, my friend, would be wrong. A lot of action to get into, and let's discuss and start with the big prize, right? The FedEx Cup is going home with someone on Sunday afternoon. There's a great chance that Xander Schauffele or Scottie Scheffler wins it, but let's delve into the world of what if something else happens? There's a lot of value that could be created on the betting board, and I really like Collin Morikawa, plus 3,000 at DraftKings to win it all, to scoop the whole pot. He's starting at -4 this week, which is the same spot that Rory McIlroy won the FedEx Cup from 2 years ago, and Collin has done everything but win this year. He is a ball-striking machine inside the top 10 in total strokes gained, as well as strokes gained tee to green on tour. And remember, just last year, 61-64 in the first 2 rounds of this tournament. If he does anything close to that, he's going to be in the mix with a real live chance to win this thing come Sunday. But don't forget, just because we have our eye on the starting strokes format and who's going to win the FedEx Cup, there is a robust betting market on just who's going to have the best 72-hole score. And in that case, I want to go to, so you're saying there's a chance. And we saw that from Justin Thomas's social media after he snuck in by the thinnest of margins into this 30-man field, and look back only to last week where we had Keegan Bradley, number 50 out of 50. He ended up winning the whole thing. JT spoke a little bit ago to the media, talked about how much he loves this course. He loves being back at this event after a 1-year absence. And don't forget, this is kind of an audition for him to make the President's Cup team. So he, like Morikawa, is plus 3,000, but JT, it's just for the 72-hole score. I have a tough time seeing him racing all the way to the FedEx Cup after starting it even, but it would not surprise me if he has the lowest score overall. Now, there are a couple other bets that you can add to your card. How about Bermuda Burns, Sam Burns, top 5 in each of the first 2 playoff events, including a runner-up last week where he nearly took down Keegan Bradley at Castle Pines. They call him Bermuda Burns for a reason, because he loves playing in the Southeast and on this style of course, this type of grass. He has been really consistent this year. Even though he hasn't won a tournament, he's been inside the top 10 more than half the times that he has made the cut. There's no cut to worry about this week, so I like his chances there. And again, top 5 at each of the first 2 events of the playoffs. He's starting like Morikawa at -4, so there's only 5 guys ahead of him. I just need him to crack up into that top 5 at plus 330 at DraftKings. I think that's a great number. And let's look at a round 1 prop. If you want to get into the weeds with me here, don't forget that the restoration that occurred this year at East Lake Golf Club, it didn't just change the look of this course, it changed the actual scorecard. 14 used to be a par 4, now it's a par 5, so there are 3 par 5 opportunities. Let's look at round 1 par 5 scoring, where I really like Billy Horschel at -110 over Tommy Fleetwood. I'm going to try and say this a little bit quiet because Tommy Fleetwood's hitting balls just over my shoulder, but he's 127th in par 5 scoring this season on the PGA Tour, not taking advantage of them as much as some of his peers. Billy Horschel, 24th in par 5 scoring. That's a big gap in a 30-man field. So I would expect, even though we only have 3 cracks at the apple on Thursday's round 1, I think Billy Horschel gets the best of Tommy Fleetwood when we're looking at the longest hole. So, Ned, that's my betting card. There's a lot to love this week about the Tour Championship, but don't forget to try and make a couple bucks while you're at it.
There is indeed a lot to love from Will Gray. That was a terrific segment, a lot of information. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the PGA Tour, and this week, new customers can bet $5 and pocket $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the app and use promo code RANGE when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Fantasy 4, presented by DraftKings. It's going to help you all out with your fantasy lineups. And remember, for the Tour Championship, you get 6 golfers, and you have to be locked in by the first tee time. There's not a 2-shot penalty if you show up late. You can't play. The budget, it's set at $50,000, and of course the scoring is done player per hole, finish, streaks, and bonuses. And the salaries, well, they're set by DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports. And you have to be thrifty and thoughtful because, well, you're on a budget, and you'd love to have all of these notable players, but you can't because you have to sprinkle your dollars throughout the field. Scottie Scheffler and Xander Schauffele, of course, they lead the way. Steve Scott, where are you going to start?
I'm going to start with the guy who's just off of that board right there, Keegan Bradley, $8,700, the man with the hot hand. He is number 4 in the FedEx Cup race right now. Starts at -6 this week, so I like where he's positioned. He can play very aggressively. Last week, he was number 1 in strokes gained tee to green at the BMW, so he's hitting the ball great, and his ball flight is going to suit this East Lake golf course so perfectly with these extremely firm greens. You have to stop the ball on a dime here this week if you want to play well. So Keegan Bradley's a great pick.
That's very convincing there, Steve, but I'm still not convinced. I'm going with Ludwig Åberg, a guy that was allergic to pars last week at the BMW Championship. 23 birdies and 2 eagles to go along with 10 bogeys and 3 doubles. If he can get rid of some of those mistakes, he's also a guy that can launch the ball way up in the air, and he loves to play aggressively at $9,900 going with Ludwig.
And, of course, you've got to make your dollars go a long way. So, Steve Scott, how are you going to stretch your money?
Well, if you're spending a lot on the front end, you got to go with a guy like this. Sahith Theegala, 7,000 on the list this week, and he secured the 6th and final spot in the President's Cup race last week. I think he's going to play much more carefree than he did last week. I know he was dead last in the players who finished 72 holes, but getting back on Bermuda greens will be a great thing for him. 7 of his top 10s this season, 5 of them have come on greens with Bermuda grass, like the Sentry at Kapalua or the RBC Heritage at Harbortown.
Well, Steve, I'm glad you brought up Bermuda greens, because Billy Horschel is a Southeast guy who is very comfortable on Bermuda greens. Not only that, he has a history here at East Lake, although the golf course is a little bit different this year. But Billy's played 6 times, 4 top 10s, including a win in 2014 and a second in 2018, and he is as streaky as anybody in this 30-man field.
DraftKings is an official daily fantasy sports partner of the PGA Tour, and this week, new customers can play for free for your share of millions in prizes with your first deposit. Download the DFS app and use promo code RANGE when you sign up. DraftKings, the crown is yours.